Tip number 208 from the book 501 Contractor Tips. We're in the job estimating section. This is job site overhead. This is something that some contractors kind of seem to forget about. Job site overhead is going to be anything that you're going to be using on the job that either is going to cost you money or already has cost you money, something you've already purchased or something you're going to need to purchase for the job. And this could include a variety of different things: fuel, tools, first aid kits, stuff you're going to rent, stuff that you're not going to have itemized on the estimate. So, and now here's something that a lot of contractors don't really think about. They go out and they buy a saw, and the saw was $100, and they bought it on this other job, and they've written it off of their taxes. But they use that saw on the next 500 jobs they do. This is getting used on all these other jobs. Make sure that you have a portion of this tool in your overhead. And I'm not saying you need to sit down and micromanage everything, but if you spend, and this is where it will benefit you to keep track of the money you spent. Let's just say that you track all of your expenses, which is rare for a contractor, but is needed. You track everything. Tool purchases, let's just focus on your tool purchases and tool rentals, tools in general. If you spend over the past 5 years, I'm just going to throw out 5 numbers here. I'm only going to throw out 3 numbers. Let's say you spent 10% of your gross income on tools 1 year. And the next year you spent 20%. And then the third year you spent 15%. I'm just going to go with 3 numbers to make it easy. If we average those numbers out, 10, 20, and 15, it's going to bring us to a 15% average. This is what you want. This is why you want to be able to track all your stuff and keep tracking it. You can take that 15% number and apply it to every single job you do, because it's going to cost you 15% to maintain your tools, to purchase these tools, to use these tools and replace them. And I'm not about to suggest you need to do this for eternity. Let's say that it's 10% 1 year, 20%, and then 15% the next year, and then you start to put 15% in. And the next year it costs you 15%. And the year after that it costs you 15%. So for 5 years you've averaged 15%. But in the 6th year it cost you 2%. And then in the 7th year it cost you 3%. Okay, you don't need to go back and average all this stuff out. Somehow you've amassed a set of tools that you can use that you're no longer needing to replace or something like that. So you can actually lower the number. Now, if you go into 8th, 9th, 10th year and it goes back to 15%, then you change this. You go back, you can, or you can average it out, whatever you want to do. But without that information, you're not going to know how much your job site overhead is going to be. So figure out what you would put into this category. Items that you are going to be using on the job, each and every job, but they aren't items that are actually going to be listed on the contract. So this will actually be a percentage on your estimate, and of course you can explain it to the client. And you want to be able to explain all this stuff to the client. The last thing you want to be able to do is be in a situation where, hey, what's this job site overhead expense? Or what's this job site overhead? Oh, I don't know. Some guy made a video and told me I got to make it. I got to put it in my estimates. You can't do that. You've got to be able to explain to them, hey, for over the past 5 years, I've averaged 15% in tools, first aid kits, water containers, rentals. That's what this is. And okay, I got it. As long as you can make it sense to them, and it would have to make sense to you first, then you're going to be able to explain it to them. You're going to look more professional. And of course, these are expenses that should not be coming out of your profit. Keep that in mind also. Profit's going to be separate. So You want to be able to make money. That's what you're in business for. And if you don't understand all these numbers, you're not going to be able to make the money you should be making.